It was 2004 in Tokyo. Inside of the office of Oracle, one of Japan's biggest tech companies, a 29-year-old man was staring at his computer screen. His name was Hidetaka Miyazaki. He had a stable career, a good salary, and predictable life. But something was missing. Everything changed when a friend recommended a game called ISO for PlayStation 2. As Miyazaki played this simple, poetic story about a boy and girl holding hands in silent world, he had a realization. He didn't just want to play the games. He wanted to create a world that made people feel something deep. At almost 30 years old, with zero experience in gaming development, he did the unthinkable. He quit his secure job. His friends thought he was crazy, but Miyazaki was about to start a journey that would change the gaming industry forever. To understand Miyazaki's genius, we have to go back to his childhood. He grew up in a relatively poor family in Shizuoka. He couldn't afford many books or hobbies, so he spent almost his time in a local library. He loved reading difficult Western fantasy and horror stories. Even though his English wasn't perfect, he wouldn't often reach a paragraph he couldn't fully translate. Instead of giving up, he used the illustration and few words to imagine what was happening. He was filling the blank with his own mind. This experience became the soul of his design. He realized that story you create in your own mind is often much more powerful than stories someone tells you directly. This is why, in his games, he doesn't use long cutscenes to explain everything. He gives you a piece of puzzle, a broken statue, cryptic sentence on a sword, or a strange character, and lets you finish the story. Breaking into the gaming industry at 30 wasn't easy. Most big companies like Nintendo and Sony wouldn't hire someone with zero experience at that age. Finally, a studio known for a niche robot game called From Software gave him a chance. Miyazaki took a massive pay cut and started as a junior planner. From Software was a strange place back then. They weren't making blockbusters. They were making difficult and weird games like Armored Core and Knight's Field. Miyazaki stood right in. He worked quietly, learning the technical side of the game design, but he was always thinking about to create emotional weight in digital world. In 2006, a project called Demon's Souls was failing. Sony wanted the classic fantasy RPG, but development was mess. Miyazaki saw this as his golden opportunity and asked the management to let him delete the project. He told himself, "Everyone always thinks this game is going to be a disaster. If I take over and it fails, nobody will be surprised. That means I completely free to do whatever I want." He removed the map, made the bosses terrifyingly strong, and he created a world that felt cold and dangerous. When it launched in 2009, it was almost invisible. It sold only 20,000 copies in the first week. The president of the Sony at the time played it 2 hours and called it crap. But then something magical happened. A small group of players started talking about it online. They loved that game didn't threaten like a children. They loved the struggle. The game became a world of mad legend, proving there was a huge audience hungry for a real challenge. One of the most beautiful parts of the Miyazaki's game is the community they created. Because the games were so difficult and the stories so hidden, players had to talk to each other. A culture of the lore hunters was born in YouTube. Creators like Vidya began to make long documentaries to just explain the story of the single character. Players who had never met would leave a message on the ground to help each other avoid traps or find the secret treasures. Miyazaki's childhood experience of filling the blanks was now a global social experiment. He had to build a world so mysterious that it brought people together to solve it. By 2014, Miyazaki was named the president of the From Software, and believe me, this is no simple achievement, especially in a country like Japan, where being promoted from the zero to managerial position was almost impossible. It was a legendary rise, from an entry-level employee to the boss of the company in just 10 years. But it didn't change. He stayed in trenches with his developers. He moved from dark fantasy to Victorian horror with Bloodborne. He took away players' shields and forced them to fight with speed and aggression. Then came Sekiro, which was so perfectly balanced that he won Game of the Year in 2019. Miyazaki proved that he could master any setting. In 2022, Miyazaki reached his peak with Elden Ring. Many people were worried, if you make a Souls game an open world, wouldn't it become too easy to boring? Miyazaki proved them wrong. He created lands between, a world where every hill you climb, every cave you enter feels like a discovery. Elden Ring sold over 20 million copies and became cultural phenomenon. It wasn't just for hardcore gamers anymore. Everyone was talking about Melina, the Ed Tree, and mystery of the Elden Ring. So why does Miyazaki's work resonate so deeply? It's because his games were built on respect. He respects the player's intelligence. It doesn't think you need a minimap or tutorial every 5 minutes. He believes you're capable of learning, adapting, and winning on your own. His games are a metaphor for life. Life is hard. You will fail. You will face the bosses that seem impossible to defeat, but if you keep trying, if you learn from your debts, and if you ask for help when you need it, you will succeed, and that success will be one of the best feelings in the world. Miyazaki's journey is from the board office worker at the Oracle to most respected name in the gaming is a reminder that it's never too late to follow your passion. He changed the entire industry by refusing to follow trends and staying true to his own vision. You can subscribe for more stories. See you in the next one.